What is going on, everyone? Greatest Hits here. I'm back yet again with another video, and this video right here is super awesome. It's gonna be exciting because I got a Ford 9-inch rear end. Now I got everything else with it except for the axles. That's coming in Monday, so you'll see that later in this same video. But I got the bracket, I got all the hardware and stuff with it. I got the T-bolts. Make sure you have that, so when you put your axles, bearings, seals, and backing plate for the caliper on this flange here, use these T-bolts, because the regular bolts will not work. I already did some research on that, so make sure you get those T-bolts directly from Quick Performance. Now, got the seals here, got the nuts and studs here as well to go on the housing right here in the center. And then I said the bracket, I got that. And obviously I'm gonna go ahead and paint it, so we'll get back to that in a second. But here's the meat and potatoes here besides the rear end. This is the center section, which is really freaking cool. There. This is a billet yoke. I believe this is nodular iron. This little plate here that holds the pinion in place and all of that. This is also nodular iron as well. This entire case here. This is super sick. I'm just so excited right now. I'm about to just, I got a 9-inch rear end and I'm building it myself. This is really cool. Building it, technically just putting it together, but you know, building it. Anyways, here's the specs here. 389 gears, 35 spline axles. That's what I chose for this rear end. And then 350 billet yoke. And then there's me, David Hits, and that number there, I believe that's some kind of part number for this. But I got a spool type gear. Let's see. This thing is really heavy. It's like 72 pounds, so trying to pick it up with one hand is a chore. But as you can see, it's a spool, not a posi, because a posi would have a thick piece of metal coming out to about right there and on the other side. And you guys know what posis look like, but spools is just a straight solid rod here with a gear, and then your pinion gear as well. Ring gear, pinion gear. They already have everything spec'd out and torqued for you, so you don't have to do anything else but install it. Also got the gasket there, sitting there for this. And like I said, the axles should be coming in pretty soon. In case if you're wondering, if you want to interchange from like a 35 spline center section to 33 spline or 31 spline axles, you can't do that. You have to go with 35 35 or 33 33 or 31 31. That's how it works. So right here I got the primer, and then I got the paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime it first, let it dry. I'm probably going to put 2 coats of that, and then I'm going to do 3 coats of blue. This is the same blue that's on the block of the engine, and I don't know if I'm going to do that to my Turbo 400 yet, but yeah, I'm going to do this first because that's the easiest, and then go from there. I didn't do a video on this because, I mean, there's millions of videos of these Firebirds and whatnot getting the rear end taken out of, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I did this on the ground myself, and it took me about maybe close to an hour on the ground with limited space, but it wasn't too bad at all. I'm gonna be selling this to to a buddy of mine for $500. That should cover the drive shaft that I will be getting for the 9-inch as well. What else? There was something important that I was going to tell you guys. Okay, that's what it was. This right here. These are like U-type. Oh my gosh, I forgot what they're called. But anyways, they give you nuts and washers with it, and it goes on to the pinion housing here, and it just basically, you take this and you slide it through, really on that side like that, after you put the drive shaft on. Now I'm going to show you guys how to measure all of that as well, and we'll go from there. But for now, I'm going to tape that up. I'm going to paint that first, and then from there I'm going to paint the rear end, and that's it. Oh, obviously I got the center section storage box. I want to keep this just in case if I want to swap out for actual posi type gear, because with this spool you can drive this thing on the street, but on the highway that's going to be that's going to be something else from what I've been told. I heard it's not going to be as comfortable, it's going to be loud and all that stuff. That's just, you know, what I've been told by other car enthusiasts like me. But this is $1,200. This is $1,150. Together, that's close to $2,800, or actually $2,800, including the axles. So, yeah, very expensive piece of machinery here. So, I will buy a posi. Now, a posi is a lot more expensive because you're dealing with more gears and spider gears and all sorts of stuff. And so yeah, I'm probably gonna go with a Detroit or something like that, or a True Track. And when I want to swap that out and put the posi in that for the street, like, you know, street driving and highway driving, then I will do that. And I'm gonna go with like a 350 gear, you know, something a lot more tame, and that way this first gear won't wind up too fast from this gear here, because this is 389, so this is going to accelerate the car much quicker. So I think the 350 gear will suffice, and it will be a lot more, I guess, comfortable ride at higher speeds on the highway. So that is the future plans for that. Now let me show you a little bit more about this rear end. So it comes straight from the factory with, you know, adjustable holes where you can put your control arms at. There. I also got, if y'all can see, I also got the back brace, and then the I think this is called the big web here, across around the rear end housing. The big web, the back brace, they're both able to hold well over 800. One of the Quick Performance employees told me that this particular rear end, one of their customers are using this particular rear end with this particular setup, and they told me they were making over 1,500 wheel on a single turbo, and they still haven't had any problems with this. So this is more than enough. I also like to overbuild my cars to the best of my ability, to really to my wallet too. So that way I don't have to worry about it breaking. This is where the shocks will mount to. This is where the I was gonna say anti-roll bar, and honestly I need to get an anti-roll bar because my stock sway bar and links is not going to work out too well under load and torque and all of that. So in the future I will do that. But you cannot use your U, what is it called, the U bolt thing or whatever. You cannot use that for this particular setup. But you can still use the stock stuff. You just can't use the U bolt thing, whatever. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's what that looks like. Roast me in the comments about my painting skills. I'm not a professional, okay? So, I'll do the best that I can. And this one can is probably not going to be enough. So, we'll see. It's starting to look pretty good, guys. I can't wait to paint this thing blue. Man, it's really gonna pop. I'm loving it so far. Okay, guys, so it's currently the next day. I just wanted this thing to sit and dry out in the sun, and then I put it back in the storage unit and waited a whole day, and it looks pretty good. I'm not a professional in painting anything. I've painted before. I painted the 10 bolt before when I got it swapped out for the 323s instead of the 273s that I had on before. And I didn't do a video on that because, I mean, I was going to replace it anyhow. But I will give y'all an update on where the car was when it was when it was running, and I will get y'all a new update on everything that I've done to this car currently once I finish with this build. So I'm gonna do a whole video on that in the future, but for now, this is what's going in, and we are ready to paint this thing finally. Obviously I got the door closed so there's no overspray on the car or anything else, and it's decent, to be honest. There is some imperfections on here, and some spots that haven't really been sprayed on too well, but this is the best I can do for right now. Hopefully it's a different color. Oh, yeah, it's a different number. Has a different number on this can than that can, but they both say Ford Blue. Huh, I don't know, but let's just use this can because this color is a little bit lighter than the other one. Alright guys, after putting a whole bottle of Ford Blue spray paint, I realized I bought the wrong bottle. It was actually old Ford Blue there, and it has a different number on it as well. So I went down to O'Reilly's and bought me another can, and I sprayed a coat of this over the blue that was on it before. So now everything should match together. As far as the engine block, the valve covers, the rear end, and then the torque arm bracket. So yeah, I'm going to spray another coat on this, and then I'm going to move on to taking the tape off and putting the seals on and the center section on. Make sure to put like some assembly lube or like WD-40 or something around this O-ring, so when you tighten it up, it's not dry and it doesn't cause it to wrinkle or tear or anything like that. So they give you instructions for the axles here, and yeah, I thought this was for the bolts, but it's not apparently. So these Allen bolts here, I believe some of these are for the axle flanges housings over here for the caliper bracket, since they gave me some with the kit, but I already bought some for this. So yeah, I guess I'll just sit these to the side or something. But this makes more sense to me because it has like a I don't know what you call it, man. This little rough groove looking thread here around here, and when you take the stud and you slide it through the hole, you take this nut and then you take an impact and you hammer it down so it pulls up in through the housing here. Alright, I got the studs sticking out on the top and bottom now. This bolt, this nut is a 14 millimeter, so I'm gonna go ahead and thread this thing down and then take the nuts off and then slide the center section in, and that's all it takes. Oh, make sure you put the gasket on there first before you do anything. Clean up the surface and stuff like that. I would use some needle nose vice grips. That way you don't damage the thread part of the stud here. And then carefully just hammer on the nut and slide it up to the point to where, make sure you use like vice grips or something to hold the bottom of the stud, because it's gonna spin when you're trying to tighten this thing down. Alright guys, so what I did was I took a bunch of washers and slid it through the stud here, and then put the nut on the stud and threaded it all the way in until the bottom side of the nut sits flush on the housing. So that's what you have to do, because if you put the nut on with no washers, there's an end here. I don't know if y'all can see with this lighting here, but on the very bottom of the stud, there's no threads around it. It's just smooth, and it's gonna start spinning and messing up the threads on this nut. So you're gonna need washers to be put on that, and then take the nut, thread it on there, and crank it down like I'm doing right now. Alright, that is it. Now we got to clean the inside of this and the surface area, and then put the center section in. And I don't know if y'all can hear me, but it's hot out here, and I have my truck running with the AC on so I can take a break. Okay, so I'm going to put on some high temp RTV that I have laying around on the surface area where the stud is at, because I use washers on this and it kind of gouged a little bit into the metal, but not very much. I just don't want to chance it and throw the gasket and the center section on there, so I'm going to use RTV around it, or use RTV and put it around it, and then oh gosh, wait a minute, I may be out of luck. Oh no. Got another alternative. It got dried up, but back of this tube here has fresh RTV. Might be a little bit too much, but we will see about that. I'm trying to put a thick layer around it so that the surface of where the stud is at, well, that way the surface is flush. Flush, even. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to put a thick layer on it so that the surface where the stud is at is like even with the gasket and the RTV. So that way I don't have any leaks. But if I do, hopefully it's not like a huge leak, because I'm probably not going to take care of it if it is a really small leak, just as long as I still have plenty of fluid in the rear end. Alright, all of this is the easy part, so here's the lube locker gasket here. I think this goes on the upward position or something like that. Let's see. Just like that. Wait a minute. Okay, cool. Just gotta. Whew. Woo! All right. I'm not going to slam these things in here with the impact. I'm just going to simply just snug them down. And should have put another jack underneath this thing. Alright, so the way that this torque arm is going to sit, it's like this. Just like that. And so simply just sit this thing on here. Take your bolt, your nut, slide it on there. I want to show you the reason why you need those Allen bolts instead of these factory caliper bracket bolt. You see that? You see that right there? It will not go in. It is at an angle and it's hitting the outer flange of this housing here. And even though it's like flat, it will not slide through perfectly. So anyways, yeah, this will not work. But anyhow, moving on. I got this drill bit over here and whatnot because this is the shock mount bolt here with the nut on the end. And what needs to happen is that, let's see, this needs to go through behind like that. My bad, guys. It's actually supposed to go in like this, but I still have to drill a slightly bigger hole in here for it to fit. I could possibly thread it in, but that just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, the shock's supposed to sit on this solid piece right here, and then the nut goes over it and tightens the shock down so it doesn't move. Okay, so here is the backing plate bracket for the brakes, rear brakes, and so it has a particular side. R means right, and then L means left. So you can't get these mixed up at all if you pay attention to that. So I'm gonna get them installed at Jackson Powertrain in Mississippi. All right, so here are the axles, and this is the driver's side and this is the passenger side. So I think the reason why they have it like this is because the center section with the spool is shifted like one way, further in one way on the driver's side. So if I'm facing the center section, it's actually this way. So I think that's one of the reasons why these axles are different sizes. But driver's side, passenger side. I got the stock studs on here. As you can see, I went with that instead of the drag studs because I didn't want to have to search on the internet on what lug nuts I need for those particular studs. With the access hole, and I wrote on there passenger rear and then the other one driver rear, so that when I take this to Jackson Powertrain in Jackson, they won't get confused on which bracket goes to which axle. Okay, when I got this rear end, it came in like this. I don't know if y'all can see that up in there, but it kind of flash rusted, but it should be fine. I'm gonna go ahead and put the seals in. I already got the other one installed already. Just get you a big socket to hit the seal onto evenly. This socket is not quite as big as the seal, but just do what you can. Just hit around the socket, the outer edge of the socket, and hammer it in there, and that's pretty much it until it bottoms out. Now you're gonna know when it bottoms out whenever you hear the different sound change whenever you're hitting the socket onto the seal. So change sound a little bit, but I think it's good. I got the axles back from Jackson Powertrain. As you can see right here, that's how far you need to press the bearing in. And then I forgot what this thing is called back here. But anyhow, backing plate is on, obviously, as you can see. And all you got to do is toss these axles in here, get a 2x4, and then a hammer, and just hammer it in there until the bearing sits flush with the axle flange on the housing. In here like this, it's going to get to a point to where the axle teeth are going to hit the center section. You got to feel it grab in there first. So sometimes you got to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. All right. And that's all it takes, guys. Now you can go ahead and put the backing plate bolts on. It's pretty self-explanatory. And that's it. I forgot to mention that you want somebody on the other side to hold the rear end so it's not sliding away from you. Because if it does, it's going to fall off, and you don't want that. Of course, this thing is real strong, so it's not really going to damage anything. But you still want somebody on the other side to hold it for you. Thanks, bud. So I already got the springs in already. I got the shocks lined up, but they're not installed yet. It's pretty self-explanatory from here. Just put all the control arms, panhard bar, sway bar, and links back together. I'm going to put everything together but the sway bar and the links, because I'm thinking about going ahead and putting an anti-roll bar on this so that the rear end doesn't shift around too much. Really, the car doesn't shift around too much, because that would not be good on stock sway bar links and, you know, whatnot. But anyhow, I got it on this transmission jack, so let's get to it. This thing up carefully. There we go. Alright, I got all the nuts and bolts in. They're not tightened down yet. I just want everything loose. That way I can put everything, including the torque arm, on, which I got it on already. I just needed to get the jack to roll the rear end straight and level horizontally instead of tilted at an angle, almost vertical, because that wasn't going to work. I was not about to grab that torque arm, push it down, get the bracket and drive shaft loop over there on it. So I just took the jack and then mounted it to the back corner of the back brace, so the rear end, and rolled it downward to like about center. So and then I'm going to grease these guide pin bolts and the caliper bracket bolt. Okay, so here's the cap here. I know y'all can't see it because of the torque arm, because of the panhard bar being in the way. But just take this thing out, fill her up, and oh, wait a minute. Forgot to take this plastic thing off. Alright, there we go. Now, so I got this Master Pro 80W90 oil. It is not synthetic oil. It's just a generic brand, GL-5 here. All you want to do with this thing is tip it over and fill her up. And this gear oil can sit in here until the engine is can run, and then it'll be good to go. you want to take the cap off on the side of the differential on the center section, so that when you continue to pour oil in here, eventually that plug is going to drip fluid out, and that means that your rear end is now full. You pouring this thing in here, and then that'll be it for this video. Also got brand new lug nuts here from O'Reilly's. These are all Dorman. They're M12s by 1.5. The other lug nuts that were on here were rusted and stripped out, so I said, you know what, I'll spend the extra $15 for a whole set, or whatever I spent. I think it was around $15 or $20. So yeah, that's what I did. Oh, this damn bracket. I do not work at Summit Racing, okay? I do not work at Summit Racing. I just wear this shirt because I buy so many parts from Summit Racing. I love their facility. I've been there probably 5 times already, and they're just great people and a great company and all of that. So I decided to buy their shirt. That way when I'm working on the car, I'll be wearing this actual work mechanic shirt instead of some random black shirt that I have laying around. So yeah. Alright guys, we finally got the 9-inch in. Got the lug nuts on in the front and in the back, and the wheel is also on. So I am pretty excited. We're getting so close. Turbo 400. I should be getting the Turbo 400 in the end of next week, or maybe the close to the 3rd week of May, but we'll see. My buddy Michael is currently figuring out what I did wrong. He's gonna tear it all apart and go from there this week, hopefully. I don't know if he's actually doing that yet, but he told me he was going to do that a couple days ago. But anyhow, once I have the Turbo 400 in, I have the Turbo 400 slip yoke for it. It's sitting in my truck, but once I have the transmission in, I'm gonna take the slip yoke, slide it in all the way into the output shaft of the transmission, and slide it back about 1 inch. And then I'm gonna measure from that inch all the way back to where the U-joint will mount to the custom drive shaft that I will be getting along with the drive shaft. That way I can see how long it needs to be. And I'm gonna take those measurements, take it down to Jackson Powertrain. They're gonna fab me up a steel 3.5-inch drive shaft. So once I get that transmission in, get the measurements, get the drive shaft built, pay the guys $500 to do that, then we can simultaneously also get the pump installed, make sure it's working, and then we're gonna throw fuel in it, we're gonna throw oil in it, we're gonna throw coolant in it, and it's game time. It is freaking game time. So close, guys, so close. I keep saying that, but anyways, camera's gonna die. So if y'all like this one, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll holler at you all at the next one. Greatest Hits out.